you reheat leftovers now can feel harmless, but it can quietly set you up for higher odds of blood sugar problems, stubborn weight gain, and even increased cancer risk after you turn 50, because reheating isn't just warming food. Certain methods, especially the ones that dry food out, overbrown it, reheat it repeatedly, or heat it in the wrong containers, can change what's in that meal, not in a scary overnight way, but in a slow, repeatable way that stacks over years. And that's exactly how people end up saying, I ate fine my whole life, so why are my numbers creeping up now? In this video, we're exposing the most common leftover reheating mistakes people do every day, and the simple fixes that keep your food satisfying without quietly stacking the odds against your future health. The crispy leftovers trap. You know this move. Pizza goes into the oven just until the cheese bubbles. Fries go into the air fryer so they taste fresh again, leftover roasted. Potatoes get tossed in a pan until they're crunchy. Bread gets toasted one more time. Even leftover pasta gets baked until the top browns because honestly, that's delicious. Here's the problem. The darker and crispier you push starchy leftovers, the more you encourage formation of a compound called acrylamide. Acrylamide forms when starchy foods are cooked at high temperatures and browned heavily. It's not something food companies add, it's a byproduct of the browning reaction that makes food smell and taste amazing. The health concern is that acrylamide has caused cancer in animal studies, and public health guidance generally treats it as something worth reducing by avoiding very dark browning and charring, especially on starchy foods that get reheated and rebrowned again and again. Notice the keyword, browning. Acrylamide is tied to the same golden to dark shift that turns bread into toast and potatoes into fries. When you reheat, you often start with food that's already been cooked and dried out in the fridge. That dryness makes it brown faster, so the exact thing you're chasing, make it crispy again, is the exact condition that pushes you toward more of that browning chemistry. And after 50, the risk isn't that one crispy potato will give you cancer. The risk is the pattern, day after day, turning reheating into rebaking, refrying, retoasting. Especially if your go-to leftovers are starchy, pizza crust, fries, potatoes, bread, pastries, crackers, or anything you keep reviving until it's dark and crunchy. Here's how this becomes a diabetes problem too. When leftovers get dry and bland, people don't add vegetables. They add sauce, sweet sauce, extra bread, another handful of fries. That make it taste good again behavior is how a normal leftover becomes a carb-heavy, sugar-heavy, salt-heavy meal that sends your blood sugar up like an elevator with no brakes. The fix doesn't require you to eat sad, soggy food. It requires you to reheat for warmth, not for crunch. Use lower heat and shorter time. If you want texture, aim for golden, not dark. Add moisture back so you don't need to overbrown. A splash of water in a covered pan for rice or pasta, a tablespoon of broth in a container of leftovers, a lid on your skillet for the first minute. Moisture slows that rapid drying and browning cycle that turns reheating into crispy chemistry. If you absolutely want crisp, do it quickly and gently. Warm the food first, then finish with a brief crisping step so you're not blasting it at high heat for long stretches. Your taste buds still get the payoff, but you're not chasing the driest, darkest outcome as the default. And once you stop worshiping crunch, you'll notice something weird. You use less sauce, less salt, and your healthy leftovers stop behaving like snack food. But the crispy trap isn't the only one. The next mistake is quieter because it doesn't happen in the oven, it happens in the container you're reheating. While you're feeling proud that you're keeping it simple. The plastic shortcut. Let's be honest, most leftovers live in plastic, takeout containers, meal prep tubs. That one container with the cloudy bottom that has survived 10,000 microwaves and at least one argument. Here's the issue. When you heat plastic, especially with hot, oily, or acidic foods, chemicals used in plastics can migrate into food more easily. Scientists have been studying compounds like certain phthalates for years because they're common in plastics and have been associated in research with metabolic disruption and type 2 diabetes risk. The science is complicated, and not every study agrees on how big the effect is, but the practical advice is simple. Don't make hot plastic a daily side dish. And people don't just reheat neutral foods. They reheat spaghetti sauce, curry, chili, tomato soup, lemony stews hot, steamy, sometimes oily, sometimes acidic meals that create the exact conditions where plastic plus heat is least ideal. The sneakiest part, you won't taste it, you won't smell it, you just keep doing it because it's convenient. So here's the upgrade that actually matters. Reheat in glass or ceramic whenever you can. Even if you store leftovers in plastic, transfer to a bowl for reheating. If you insist on plastic, don't heat it if it's scratched, cloudy, warped, or stained. Those are signs the surface has been through enough, and don't microwave plastic wrapped directly on the food like it's a spa treatment. Steam plus heat plus plastic is not the combo you want repeating for years. This isn't about panic, it's about reducing avoidable exposure while keeping the convenience of leftovers. You don't have to be perfect, you just don't want your container to be the hidden ingredient in every meal. And if you're thinking, okay, I'll switch containers, great, because the next reheating mistake doesn't care what container you use. It's a behavior mistake, the kind that feels efficient, right up until it quietly changes the food you're eating. Reheat roulette. Picture a big pot of stew or pasta. You're not portioning it, you're just dipping in all week. You heat the whole pot, serve some, put it back. Next day, heat it again. Serve some, back it goes. It feels efficient. It feels like you're saving dishes, but from a chemistry perspective, you're repeatedly running that food through heat cycles, warming, cooling, while oxygen keeps working on it in the background. Each cycle can push flavors flatter and textures softer, especially in foods with fats. And when leftovers taste dull, humans do what humans do. We rescue them. More salt, more sugar, more glaze, more cheese, more just a little something. That rescue habit is where diabetes risk quietly creeps in. Not because reheating magically creates diabetes, but because it creates the conditions for higher calorie, higher sodium, higher sugar add-ons, and bigger portions. After 50, your body is more likely to respond to those spikes with fatigue, cravings, and a gradual worsening of insulin sensitivity over time. There's also another angle researchers talk about. Repeated heating and browning can increase certain advanced glycation end products, compounds that tend to be higher in foods cooked with dry heat and higher temperatures, and have been studied for their relationship to oxidative stress and metabolic health. You don't need the science words. You just need the behavior change. Don't keep recooking the same food over and over. The fix is simple. Reheat only what you're going to eat. Portion leftovers into single meal containers. Keep the rest cold. That reduces repeat heat cycles, keeps flavors cleaner, and makes you less likely to drown the meal in sugar and salt to make it exciting again. The high-power microwave mistake. Now let's talk about the reheating method most people think is the healthiest because it uses no oil and takes 2 minutes. The microwave. Microwaves are not evil. They're just misunderstood and misused. The problem is the way people microwave leftovers. Full power, long time, no stirring, no resting. The outside gets scorching hot while the center stays lukewarm. Then you blast it again. Now the edges are dry and overcooked. The fats in the dish have taken extra heat punishment, and the texture turns into that sad microwave trademark. Rubbery meat, chewy rice, and vegetables that taste like they've given up on life. Then your brain tries to fix it. You grab ketchup, barbecue sauce, sweet chili, honey mustard, a little drizzle that becomes a puddle. Suddenly, the leftover that could have been a calm, balanced meal becomes a sugar and salt rescue project. That's not a microwave problem. That's a reheating style problem. There's also a sneaky cancer risk behavior hidden in the microwave habit. People often finish microwaved leftovers by crisping them hard in a pan or toaster oven to make them feel real again. So you end up doing a double heat routine microwave to warm, then high heat browning to make it tasty, which is exactly how starchy foods get pushed toward deeper browning chemistry. The fix is ridiculously simple. Microwave in shorter bursts, stir in between, and let it rest for a minute so the heat evens out. Use a cover so the food steams gently instead of drying out. And if you want it to taste fresh, add freshness after reheating. Lemon, herbs, a spoon of yogurt sauce, chopped veggies, so you don't have to drown it in sugar and salt. Now, if you've fixed the crispy trap, ditched the plastic shortcut, stopped reheat roulette, and learned to microwave like a sane person, you're already ahead of most people. And you'll probably notice the difference fast almost immediately. Meals taste better, you feel lighter after eating, and that "why am I thirsty" feeling eases up. When reheating gets gentler, your body finally stops negotiating with your lunch too. But we haven't even touched the biggest healthy reheating illusion yet, the one people swear by because it's fast, it's clean, and it makes leftovers taste brand new, while quietly creating the exact kind of compounds your body after 50 struggles to handle the most. The broiler refresh mistake. When leftovers get recharred, the broiler is the final boss of reheating. It's the button people hit when they want yesterday's chicken to feel like it just came off a grill, when they want lasagna edges to crisp, when they want that restaurant top on anything. You slide the tray under raging heat for a few minutes, pull it out, and the smell alone makes you feel like you just upgraded your life. But high direct heat doesn't just refresh. It can push proteins and fats into a harsher chemical zone, especially when you take food that has already been cooked once, dried out in the fridge, and then blasted again. When meat, poultry, or fish are exposed to very high heat, especially until browned hard or blackened, researchers have identified the formation of compounds like heterocyclic amines and polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons. These are associated with high-temperature cooking, and long-term exposure has been studied in relation to cancer risk. Again, not a one-time panic, a pattern problem. The reheating mistake is using broiling as your default make-it-taste-good-again move, because leftovers are drier and their surfaces darken fast, so it's easy to overshoot from golden to bitter in seconds. One giveaway you've pushed it too far is the smell. Golden smells nutty. Overdone smells sharp like scorched hair and bitter smoke. If you're reheating meat, pull it the moment it hits 165 degrees Fahrenheit or 74 degrees Celsius and let carryover heat finish the job for you safely always. The gut and blood sugar angle shows up right after. Broiled leftovers often taste saltier and more intense, so you eat them faster and you crave something soft or sweet afterward. That's how people end up pairing a crispy, over-broiled protein with refined carbs or dessert just to balance it. And now your post-meal energy crash is practically scheduled. A safer way to get that fresh taste is to warm gently first covered, with moisture then finish with a very short, low-position, crisp step if you truly want it. Think color, not char. If you smell bitterness, you've gone past refresh and into re-cooking. The cured meat reheat, turning convenience proteins into a nitrite problem. Here's a reheating habit that hides in breakfast and quick lunch culture. Reheating processed meats. Bacon warmed again. Sausages reheated. Hot dogs microwaved for the second day. Deli meat tossed into a hot pan to make it real food. Pepperoni reheated on pizza. Again, processed meats often contain curing agents such as nitrites or nitrates, which help preserve color and safety. The concern is that under certain conditions, heat, being one of them, nitrite chemistry can contribute to the formation of nitrosamines, compounds that have been studied for carcinogenic potential. You don't have to memorize the vocabulary. You just need the practical takeaway. Processed meats are already the category public health agencies most often tell people to limit for cancer risk. When you reheat them aggressively, you're not improving that equation. After 50, there's also the metabolic side. These foods tend to come with high sodium and saturated fat, and reheating often makes them taste more concentrated. So you stack them into meals that spike thirst, raise blood pressure sensitivity, and drive cravings later. That "I want something sweet after salty" feeling isn't weakness. It's your body trying to correct the swing. If you want a simple rule that works, don't build your leftover routine around reheated cured meats. If they're in the meal, reheat gently, don't scorch, and balance them with fiber-rich sides. Better yet, keep processed meat as a flavor accent, not the main protein you keep warming for days. The oil reheat trap: when yesterday's fats go rancid on the stove. People think the danger zone is the food itself. Sometimes it's the oil you reheated in. A common move is reviving leftovers in a pan with oil, especially rice, noodles, potatoes, or stir-fries. And not just any oil, the oil that's been sitting in a pan from last night, or the oil you used earlier and decided to reuse because it looks fine. But repeated heating of oils can increase oxidation and create breakdown products like aldehydes and other polar compounds that researchers associate with oxidative stress. You don't have to taste rancid for chemistry to be happening, and once you're past 50, your body's ability to buffer oxidative stress is generally lower than it used to be. That's why some people notice they feel heavy or inflamed after fried or over-oiled meals now, even if they could handle them at 30. This is also where diabetes risk sneaks in. Oily. Reheats are easy to overdo, and fats make starches hyper-palatable. You eat more before you feel full. Then you're sleepy. Then cravings show up. It's a predictable loop. The fix is boring but powerful. Use fresh oil in small amounts, keep heat moderate, and stop reheating foods in mystery oil that's been heated before. If you want to pan warm rice or noodles, add a splash of water or broth and cover the pan first. Let steam do the heavy lifting. Then finish with a tiny bit of oil for flavor at the end. The greens mistake: reheating nitrate-heavy vegetables the wrong way. This one catches people off guard because it sounds like health food. Spinach, beet greens, arugula, celery-based soups, and other leafy greens. Many of these plants naturally contain nitrates. In the body, nitrate can convert to nitrite, and under some conditions, nitrite can form nitrosamines. Most of the time, vegetables are not the villain. Here, vegetable nitrate comes packaged with antioxidants and vitamin C that help keep the chemistry in a safer direction. The problem is when people reheat nitrate-rich greens repeatedly, especially in the presence of certain proteins in high heat, and when the dish has lost some of its protective freshness. A classic example is reheating creamed spinach, spinach in omelets, or leafy green soups over and over. Does that mean never reheat spinach? Not automatically. It means don't treat greens like a 5-day reheat project. Cook what you'll eat, cool quickly, and reheat once, gently. If you're sensitive, make greens a fresh add-in, stir them into hot food right at the end so they warm without long reheating. And here's the part that matters after 50. Greens are supposed to help you. They support blood vessels, gut bacteria, and nutrient status. Turning them into a repeated high-heat leftover undermines the whole point. The foil and acid combo, when convenient wrap becomes a metallic mystery. This is the reheating move that feels wholesome. You wrap leftovers in foil, toss them in the oven, and let them warm while you do other things. It's tidy, it's hands-off, and it keeps dishes minimal. But if the leftovers are acidic tomato-based pasta, chili, lemony chicken, vinegar-heavy veggies, foil can become a problem. Acidic foods can react with aluminum, especially when heated, which can lead to more aluminum transferring into the food and a faint metallic taste that most people don't recognize as metallic. They just think the meal tastes a little off. And when a meal tastes off, people reach for the usual rescuers: extra salt, extra cheese, extra sauce, extra bread. So what starts as a simple reheat becomes a heavier, saltier plate. Exactly the kind of thing that makes blood pressure and blood sugar feel less stable afterward. The fix is easy. Use parchment paper under foil, or use a glass ceramic dish with a lid for acidic leftovers. If you love foil for non-acidic foods, fine, just don't make it the default wrapper for tomato and lemon everything. The rice and pasta danger zone. The reheat that isn't about cancer but can wreck your metabolism. Anyway, now we have to talk about the risk nobody wants to hear because it's not glamorous. Food poisoning. Leftovers aren't just chemistry, they're biology. Some foods are notorious for growing bacteria or producing toxins if they sit warm too long. Before refrigeration, cooked rice and pasta are famous examples because of Bacillus cereus. Here's why that connects to diabetes risk after 50. A bad bout of foodborne illness can cause dehydration and inflammation, and in older adults, it can hit harder, sometimes leading to days of poor eating, stress hormones, and disrupted blood sugar control. Even milder cases can push people toward ultra-processed, safe foods for a week because their stomach is unsettled. That's not a moral failure, it's a real pattern. So the reheating mistake is not heating rice enough. It's the earlier step, leaving it out, cooling it slowly, then reheating it casually like it's immune to time. Reheating does not always destroy preformed toxins, so the safest behavior is rapid cooling and cold storage. Then thorough reheating only once. If you want a simple rule, don't let cooked rice or pasta lounge at room temperature. Portion it, cool it fast, refrigerate promptly, and reheat until steaming hot throughout. If it smells off, toss it. No hero awards for eating suspicious rice. The safer reheat. Formula that actually works. Here's the calm, body-friendly approach that works for almost any leftover. Warm with moisture first. Cover the food. Add a splash of water, broth, or sauce so you're reheating by gentle steam instead of intense dryness. Keep the heat moderate. Once it's hot, stop. Don't keep it cooking just in case. And if you want a fresh taste, add something fresh after. Lemon, herbs, chopped vegetables, yogurt, or a drizzle of olive oil. This keeps reheating from turning into recooking, and it lowers the odds. You'll chase flavor with sugary sauces or salty add-ons because the food stays tender and satisfying. And the biggest mindset shift, leftovers are not a second chance to cook. They're a second chance to eat. What to do right now? Take one leftover habit you do constantly and change just that. If you broil to refresh, switch to gentle warming and a brief finish. If you reheat cured meats, cut the frequency and keep the heat low. If you pan reheat everything in oil, use steam first and oil last. If you stretch greens and rice for days, shorten the timeline and reheat once. If you only remember one rule, make it this: heat what you need one time. The more you treat leftovers like something you can keep bringing back to life, the more you drift toward harsh heat, extra add-ons, and that invisible risk stacking in the background. You don't need perfection. You need fewer repeated exposures to the high heat, high processed patterns that quietly stack risk after 50 while keeping the convenience that makes leftovers worth it. If this video helped today, hit like and subscribe. And drop a comment with the leftover you reheat most: pizza, rice, pasta, chicken, stew. So the next video can break down the safest way to reheat that exact meal without turning it into a health gamble.